We're going to first disconnect the negative battery cable. Just tuck it out of the way, and then we're ready to disconnect the airbag. You'll need an 8mm socket to take out the 2 bolts holding the airbag to the steering wheel. Then do that on the other side too. We can now carefully remove the airbag, and we're just going to keep this connected for now. Okay, check this out, guys. We are in luck. If you see the 2 wires running to the blanks here in the steering wheel, those are my cruise control connections. So I will not need to get a new clog spring, which is good because they cost about $100 now, and they're used. So I am really pleased with that. Really pleased. The next thing we're going to do is unscrew these here, and that will allow me to remove the switches, the blank switches, and I can install the new ones and then hook up the cruise control wires to those new switches. So let's get that done. So to remove the switches, just a Phillips head, and there are 2 screws here holding them in. You can see that one right there, the same on the other side. Let me take these out. There's one. And these just pull out. There's a little tab there, so when you pull it out, kind of pull it and towards the steering wheel at the same time. And there's the connection right there. Try and take this out. There we go. So that's the blank one. And here's the one I got off eBay. So let's hook this up. And let's get it reinstalled. And let's do the other side. Now let's get the airbag reinstalled. Just fits on there like that. Buttons seem secure. Hopefully they work. And now I'm going to just bolt the airbag back in. And there's a finished product. Looks pretty good. Looks factory, because it is factory. Now let's get started in the engine compartment. So here's the cruise control servo that I got off eBay. This one cost me $70. It looks a bit haggard, but hopefully it works fine. I guess we'll see. The reason I bought this was because it is impossible to find this bracket. I looked everywhere for it, and I just can't find it anywhere. And unless you want to make something custom, you're going to need it to put it in the factory position. I also can't find the cable anywhere. So yeah, if you can't find the cable and you can't find the bracket, it's going to be tough. So this was all together in this was all together, so I just decided to purchase it as soon as I saw it. It routes the proper way, so I can tell this is from the same year or a similar year Jeep. So now we just have to get it installed. I can replace the servo if I wanted to. They do sell new ones actually, and there are plenty of them on eBay for like 40 bucks. So yeah, let's get this installed. So the servo didn't come with any screws for the bracket, but this solenoid here is attached with a bracket, and that needs to be removed, and there are 2 screws holding that in. So there are 3 screws for the bracket for this cruise control and 2 screws for this, so I'm missing a screw. I'll see if I can scrounge one from somewhere, but at least I can get it installed. And something you will need to know, if you see this spare plug right next to this, then you have the wiring in the engine compartment for the cruise control. If you don't see this, then you don't have the wiring. So this is very important to do this without having to wire cruise control to your Jeep, which will take longer and cost more. I'm very lucky. This Jeep came with everything already installed. The servo, the clock spring already had cruise control on it, and the engine is already wired for cruise control because I have this. So, and this is a 2006. So if you're lucky and you have a 2006, you'll have this stuff already installed. If not, then you're going to have to rewire it, and I don't really cover that in the video. This video is really only for if you already have this wiring installed. So this is taped to the wires, so let me cut this tape. And that's what it looks like. Luckily the connections inside are pretty clean, because it has some tape kind of blocking the connection, so it's not too dusty, which is good. Let's get this solenoid off its bracket, and then we'll install the cruise control end bracket with the existing bolts. Okay, the bolts holding it in the solenoid bracket at 10mm, and there are 2 of those, so let's get that off. That's what the bolt looks like. So I need to find me another one of these. And here you go. It's loose. So let's see if I can slide this thing off. And there we go, that's the bracket. So probably slide it off while it's still bolted. Not unbolted and then slide it off. On the solenoid, there are, looks like foam or rubber slit that fits over this thing. So I'll just need to jam it on the bracket for the cruise control. So this is the cruise control, kind of roughly fit in here. There are multiple holes all over the bodywork. Just find the ones that it matches up with. As a reference from the top, there are 2 holes here, and this one is going to fit in the right hand side hole. And then further down, where the solenoid bracket was on, the hole to the front of the engine, there are 2 holes. The one at the front is the one where the other side of this bolts to. And then on the other side, this side, there are 2 holes. Basically it's the upper hole. So this top one doesn't want to go. Let me do a hole that I know works. That's how the bracket's oriented. That one at the back was one of the existing solenoid bracket holes, so the bolt is going in there. Hopefully I don't have any trouble with the front one. It's really the back one that I'm going to have issues with, so let's try and get this bolted up at least. Okay, I've got one bolt in. I'm now going to slide the solenoid onto the existing bracket here. And there you go, that was pretty simple. So now let's try and get one of the other bolts in. Okay, so the other one went in pretty well. It's very tight, which is good. So I've got those two bolts in there. It's just the back one. I don't have a bolt for that. And just show you. So because I don't have a back one, I mean it's in there, but you can see how loose it is. So I've got to figure something out for this. Maybe I can scavenge a bolt from somewhere else on the Jeep. Probably not a good idea. So I'll see what I can find to get in there. I don't really have a lot though. We'll see. I may run it without that bolt for now, just to see if it works. Okay, let's get this connected. So the red tab goes on this side. Okay, so I had a bunch of trouble getting the throttle cable off. So I took the bracket off. There's this little tab right there. Where is it? Sorry. Here. See that little thing jutting out? So you need to pull that back. That little thing slots into this gap here. Once you push it back or peel it back, then it will allow you to slide this off. Okay, so there's a little tab that pokes through here. You got to get behind it, peel it back, and then you can slide this whole assembly off. And I'll show you what it looks like when I put it back on. But I took this off. I probably didn't need to now, so I could hook up the cruise control cable, which is this one, and also kind of get it to fit in here because I was having trouble doing that with the accelerator cable still attached. So now I'm going to hook up both the cables and then reinstall this like that, and then this one will slide in next to it. That. So that's what they look like side by side. Now let's get this back onto the throttle body. The last thing we need to do is hook up the vacuum line for the servo. So here's the servo. You got this vacuum line and you got this one. So there are two different vacuum lines and they're both different sizes. So the smaller one will fit here. You should have a vacuum line with a T fitting and with a cap. You just take the cap off, put the new vacuum line on, and then you have the nipple head for this vacuum line. Now this is bigger than the other one, so I had to get creative and purchase one of these. So this is a connector with tape, which is tapered on both ends, and it's used to connect two different vacuum line sizes, and that's what I had to do. And that's what you're going to have to do if you can't find the vacuum line. So I wanted to give you guys just a quick look of what it looks like when it's finished. So there's the throttle cable and the cable for the servo next to each other. The one closest to the firewall is the cruise control. It's like this. And there's the servo. You can see I have two bolts in it there. These were from the original bracket that I could use. And still haven't found a bolt for this one, but it's pretty sturdy. It doesn't move. And then you can see it's connected to the wiring harness, which I just had the spare plug here. And then there's the vacuum line routed up to there. Now if everything's hooked up correctly, you should see the cruise light when you turn the ignition on. And there it is. Right there. Never had that before. And then if I press the cruise button, the on-off button, that should turn on the light as well. There you go. And I have tested it out and it works fine. It holds the speed and I can change it with up and down with those buttons, cancel it, and then turn it off if I want to with this. So yeah, all in all, the install went great. And now I have factory cruise control on my non-factory Jeep. That's it for now. Take it easy.